One of the political battles this election year is about what to do with waste, specifically some bottles and cans. Ballot Question 2 seeks to expand the state's bottle bill. Advocates say applying the 5-cent deposit to more beverage containers is a proven way to reduce litter. Opponents call it an unnecessary burden on consumers. WGBH News reporter Stephanie Lydon has our focus report on Question 2.
In Massachusetts, we've been turning in empty beer bottles and soda cans for a nickel apiece longer than many voters have been alive. The bottle bill law first passed in 1983. Ronald Reagan was president. Michael Jackson, the king of pop, and Flashdance ruled at the box office. So the question for Massachusetts voters, does the bottle bill need to get with the times? Question 2 would expand the bottle bill, so just like beer and soda, juice, sports drinks, and water bottles would all include a 5-cent deposit.
Consumers' tastes have changed, and now it's just time to update the bottle bill to cover those changes.
Phil Seago is with the Sierra Club, part of a consortium of environmental groups backing Question 2.
When this passed originally some decades ago, what happened almost overnight is if somebody turned a switch and the litter started disappearing.
Seago points to the success of centers like this one in Cambridge, where they redeem 1 million cans and bottles a day. In contrast, he says more than 75% of containers not covered by the bottle bill end up as trash or litter.
I would say that probably less than 20% ends up in the waste stream.
Ben Harvey owns a recycling business that provides curbside pickup in 20 Massachusetts communities, including here in Framingham. In just one day, his trucks will collect 8 tons of recyclable material. And here's why Harvey doesn't like Question 2. Among the most valuable containers in his trucks are the very items that an expanded bottle bill would cover.
Water bottles, iced tea cans, Gatorade containers, all of that type of material that's in that clear plastic PET container is a valuable commodity.
Harvey's concern, instead of recycling these containers in curbside bins, consumers will redeem them.
Because that valuable commodity has been removed and we need to make it up somewhere. So the charge would have to go back to the municipalities.
In other words, taxpayers would pay more to recycle everything else.
Now there's talk about forcing more deposits with Question 2.
At least that's a key message coming from the opponents of Question 2. The American Beverage Association and supermarket chains are spending millions to fund TV commercials claiming an expanded bottle bill will cost consumers more.
Question 2 will cost almost $60 million.
Phil Seago calls the claim false and cites a state study that found no evidence that expanding bottle deposits increased grocery costs.
Connecticut updated their bottle bill, Maine updated theirs, and New York updated theirs, and there were no increases in prices.
But opponents, like Ben Harvey, say the key to reducing both litter and trash is to make recycling convenient, not only at curbs, but also in public areas. He calls recycling the future, bottle bills a relic from the past.
It's a rotary phone versus our cell phones today. It was what was good 30 years ago is not as good today.
An old idea out of date or a timeless classic in need of an update? Like so much from the 1980s, the value of expanding the bottle bill comes down to your point of view. Stephanie Lydon, WGBH News.
For more on the debate over updating the bottle bill, I'm joined by Nicole Giambuso, who is a spokesperson for the No on Question 2 campaign, and Janice Dominitz, who is with the Massachusetts Public Interest Research Group and supports Question 2. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Let me go right at you, Nicole, about the cost, because when I hear Ben Harvey say that if he doesn't get to collect all those plastic items and sell them back and reuse them, that it's going to go back to the municipalities. Convince me that that's true. For instance, in Boston, they've just upticked cycling to twice a week instead of once. I didn't get a bill for that. How is that going to reflect back on a community? How is his losing business? And I understand that.
Yep.
He's going to lose business. How am I going to pay more?
Well, it's going to affect the cost of recycling for municipalities. We have organizations like E.L. Harvey and Casella in the No on Question 2 coalition because this affects them. This will remove the most valuable recyclables from their waste streams.
Why do we care about them? No offense.
Because
I mean, they're going to lose their business, some of their business. I understand that.
Because the value of those materials affects how much these cities and towns pay for recycling. So when those materials are taken out of the stream, municipalities pay more. And the thing is, people who live in these cities and towns, they already pay for recycling. So question 2 would have them paying twice. They'd pay at the grocery store in higher grocery costs, and then they'd pay for the curbside system.
Which they do already. All right, I want to bring Janice into that. Is that correct? I mean,
Emily,
if we take those valuable commodities out of the stream,
right,
and people like Ben Harvey and others, they say, oh, they're going to have to put all that cost back on the taxpayer. Is that true?
3 things. Number 1, before this measure was on the ballot, it was a bill pending in the legislature. Over the past several years, 210 of the 351 cities and towns passed resolutions in support of updating the bottle bill. The municipalities, a vast majority of them, want to do it, number 1. Number 2, the Department of Environmental Protection did a study, and they said once the update passes, cities and towns will save between $6 and $7 million a year. It costs money to pick up that litter off the ball field. It costs money to cart trash to the landfill or an incinerator. That's number 2. Number 3 is, unfortunately, the No on 2 campaign came to our state with over $8 million of out-of-state big beverage money. They were caught by reporters with false information in their ads, so all of their numbers are now in question.
Well, let's address that, because one of the ads originally, Nicole, said that 90% of cities and towns of the 351 have curbside recycling. It turns out 47% have access to it. So there was a little disclaimer on the ad, but was that intentionally misleading?
The point that we've been pushing all along is that 90% of residents have access to community recycling, whether it's curbside or a drop-off program. And that's true, that's the case. I don't think anyone can dispute the fact that we have a recycling infrastructure in Massachusetts today that didn't exist in 1982. And that structure allows us to recycle a lot more in one place at one time. And if you don't mind...
All right, so I just want to know what's wrong with then putting the Gatorade bottles in your curbside along with your Coke bottles?
Well, because question 2 undermines programs like single stream recycling, these more convenient programs that utilize modern technology. It undermines those programs, but it also asks people to pay twice. You're paying at the grocery store, and then you're paying at home.
Which we do on the Coke, too.
Well, I mean, curbside's great. I mean, I have curbside, but by the way, there is a vast difference between the number that they stated in their commercials of people who have curbside and, in fact, how many people have it. Curbside's great. If no one ever left their home, curbside would do the trick. But I know very few people who stay in their house all the time. We're talking about on-the-go beverages. If you walk your dog, if you go to the beach, if you're at a park, you see the bottled water litter. And the fact is, curbside is not going to get that, even if every single household in the state, which is a far stretch, had curbside, we wouldn't get those on-the-go beverages.
Okay, I want Nicole to respond.
Sure. Well, you see a lot of other materials on the ground, too, that we need to clean up. And question 2 ignores 90% of the problem. For $68 million a year in higher grocery costs that an updated study has shown. $68 million a year at the grocery store. We need to really look at what we're addressing and what question 2
But what about the issue
addresses.
that Janet just raised about the litter on the ball field, on the way, especially, frankly, sports drinks, because those people are not sitting around their houses?
Well, Massachusetts doesn't compile that kind of aggregate data, but when you look at states like Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont, beverage containers make up less than 10% of what's found on the ground there. So we need to address everything. A possible solution would be putting more recycling receptacles in public places, diverting resources there, because that addresses all recyclables, not just bottles and cans. And I'd like to respond to the point about cities and towns. Those 210 cities and towns have not endorsed question 2, and I don't believe that they would, because it's going to cost them. It's going to cost these municipalities millions of dollars, and it's going to cost their residents more for groceries.
Same bill.
Final word, Janet.
But Emily, you mentioned Mr. Harvey in the piece. If this is not a question about how to run a disposal company, this is a question about recycling in the environment. We have every major environmental group in the state saying yes on 2. Mass Audubon, Sierra Club, Appalachian Mountain Club, Environmental League of Massachusetts, the League of Women Voters, all are saying yes on 2. Unfortunately, we don't have the $8 million of money to put on TV. They came to our state, $8 million of money to pay for ads that happen to be false.
You've both made your cases very well, Nicole and Jim Busso.
Thank you so much for having us. We appreciate the time.